Overthinking is exhaustive. It is emotionally draining. It produces immense anxiety. It puts you in an emotional turmoil. And most of the times, it's not even worth it. Gandhi said that happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. So I'm going to use this video to explain to you guys where overthinking comes from, why is it the cause of unhappiness, and a few ways of how to stop it. So overthinking, like I said in my previous video on how to stop overanalyzing, it's like a brain fart. We all do it. We're not really proud of it. We're pretty embarrassed, but some people get into this really bad routine of doing it on a long-term level. Now here's the interesting part. Research has shown that overthinking increases stress levels, it clouds your judgment, it makes you indecisive, and it even reduces creativity. And here's the more fun part. Cortisol, the stress hormone, decreases your immune system, which is very interesting if you think about it, because this is why most people that overthink, are chronically stressed, have anxiety, are also the ones that are more frequently ill. Now, for you pessimists out there that are thinking that it's too late for me, I'm already screwed up, I'm messed up, no matter what I do, I'll always be this overanalyzer. I'm going to introduce you to a new term, if you don't already know it. It's called neuroplasticity. Now, neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to rewire itself. And guess what? It never stops, literally. So your brain is rewiring itself on a constant basis. So what that means is that right now with new imaging technology, what we've noticed is that our brain lights up like a Christmas tree every time we either think something, feel something, or something happens in our environment. We can literally see what parts of the brain get stimulated. And it has been shown that by changing the way you think things, by the way you think of things, by changing the way you respond to certain situations, you can actually create new neural pathways in your brain, new ways that your brain functions. So, without further ado, my name is Olympia. I have a degree in cognitive neuroscience and art history. And what I like to do, every Thursday, I like to dissect that pretty little brain of yours and see what makes you tick, but also what makes you talk. So help a girl out by smashing that subscribe button and giving me a huge thumbs up, make mama argue and love me, and let's start. So again, fun fact, overthinking was actually useful to our ancestors, even though right now we have connotated with something that may be resourcefulness in some areas, but mostly it has a negative association that if we're overthinking, we're becoming stressed and all that. Overthinking actually was a way for our ancestors to tackle problems and physical dangers. They would walk out of a cave and they'd be like, okay, it's cold. What can I do to warm myself up? And they would find multiple solutions. However, like I said in my video of how to stop overanalyzing, our brain kind of skipped the software update where we can distinguish between physical danger and emotional danger. And it pretty much reacts in the same way as if you were in physical danger. So even though overthinking is something that's considered bad now, it was actually just a form of survival for our ancestors. But it's time to get updated, guys. Now, I'm not a hypocrite. I've ruined a lot of relationships. I have caused myself huge unhappiness because of my overthinking tendencies. And the thing is that the brain is like a muscle. So I'm going to show you guys some ways to stop and try and manage your overthinking. And with time, you will be able to stop yourself from entering the overthinking panic mode. But like I said, the brain is a muscle, and this is the hard part. This is something that requires work. It requires work constantly. I promise you though, that it is so worth it. If you can apply these tactics, every time you feel like you're being triggered, at some point, after some time, I can't give you a time frame because that's the beauty of the human brain. It will differ from person to person. But at some point, you will be able to realize when you get into this overthinking mode and stop yourself. So one thing that you need to learn to do, which is so much easier said than done, is let go of the past. Now, overthinking is very connected to rumination. Rumination is basically taking something that happened in the past and nitpicking it to death. As in, like, taking that scenario and trying to find every possible multiple scenario, meaning innuendo, whatever it is behind this, and trying to find all the solutions in order to fix this that happened in the past, but you're focusing on the present. Now, the thing with rumination is that it makes you more susceptible to depression and anxiety, which is why overthinking is honestly one of the biggest cause of unhappiness. The next thing you need to do is every time you have a problem, instead of sitting and overthinking the crap out of it, start becoming more action and solution oriented rather than problem oriented. What do I mean with this? If you have a problem, write it down. And instead of focusing on all the negative aspects of that problem, try and think that, okay, if this hypothetical scenario took place, how would you solve it? How would you be able to tackle it? Because that will, even though it will fuel your overthinking by indulging yourself in those thoughts, you'll be able to handle those thoughts because you know that even if it happens, you can deal with it. Now, a few years in the past, if you've seen my video on a tip that saved my life and how I self-diagnosed myself with celiac disease, until I was 24, I would have immense mood swings. I would be depressed. I had constant stomach aches. I was anxious and I didn't really feel myself. So I was this like walking problem with all these complaints until one day I just kind of snapped and I thought, you know what? Instead of me saying what's wrong with me, I'm going to figure out what I can do to fix these things. So, okay, one of them was obviously going to therapy because I thought, okay, mood swings, depression, let's try that. Didn't really work out. So then I was thinking, okay, stomach ache and all that. Next move, let's go to the doctor. So here's the part where I want you guys to understand how becoming solution-oriented rather than problem-oriented, for me at least, saved my life. So I went to the doctor and he didn't believe me. He did not believe that something was wrong with me. He diagnosed me with a mild form of IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. But in reality, I was trying to convince him, not that I'm a doctor, but I do have some medical knowledge because of my degree in cognitive neuroscience, so I kind of know what's going on in the body and all that. I was convinced that I had celiac disease. And I had a genetic component to it, so my grandmother would say that she's allergic to toast, and I tried to convince him that this was the problem. Here's the thing, guys, you have to understand the difference between fear and intuition. So the moment he told me that this wasn't true, I could have turned around and been like, okay, you know what, you're right, it's not true. I am afraid that whatever I thought was invalid, that I should be listening to this hotshot doctor. But what I did is that I followed my intuition. And I overthought it, but instead of overthinking in terms of a problem, I was thinking, okay, this is a solution. So what I did is that I actually took the blood test and without a doctor slip or anything, and it came out positive. The point being though, is that instead of me going into this wallow and continuing the way I was and admitting to myself, you know what, this is me. I overthink everything and I'm anxious and I'm depressed and I have stomach problems. No, you become solution oriented and many times it actually works to your advantage. So the other thing is put things in a wider perspective and really ask yourself, whatever you're overthinking about, whatever is causing this unhappiness, does it truly matter? Fast forward 5 years. If you are overthinking about a text you sent, or you're overthinking about a job interview, whatever those thoughts are, project them into 5 years and really ask yourself if this, in 5 years, will this what if, what I like to call what-ifize a situation. So if you're what-ifizing a situation, will this have a severe impact in the future? Will this hinder you? Will it hinder your health? Will it hinder your lifestyle? Will it hinder your happiness? And chances are is that if it doesn't affect you in 5 years, it's not worth overthinking. Now I mentioned what-ifize a situation. So in my previous videos, I talk about this a lot. I talk about when we're overthinking, we start putting all these what ifs and we're thinking even about the worst case scenario. Now, the beauty of the human brain is that we can't really decipher between the thoughts and the emotions that come with that thought. And most likely, what we fear is not the thought itself, the actual event that's happening, but the unhappiness and the feelings that will come with it. So if you're overthinking that you're being dumped, or you're overthinking that you will lose your job, or that you won't get that job, or that your business is not going well, or that your life is not where you want it to be, it's not that part that's freaking out. It's not that part that's keeping you unhappy. It's the feelings that come with that. The heartbreak from the breakup, the disappointment for losing the job interview, the desperation of losing your job. All these negative feelings that come from overthinking a situation are what causes your unhappiness. So if you're what-ifizing a situation, if you have a problem and you're just shutting all those what ifs, think of the worst case scenario. And what I want you to do is, I want you guys to say it out loud, even write it out. If you write that worst case scenario, for example, I'm gonna get fired, or I'm gonna get dumped, you're going to notice that the situation that if that happens, if this is the worst case scenario, you will be able to pull from life experiences and even give yourself credit that that's something that, even though it's the worst case scenario, you can get through it. You can get through a breakup no matter how much it will hurt you. You can get through from losing a job. You will find another one. You will find solutions. Solutions are always out there. But it's this fear that we're not going to be able to find those solutions that keep us back. So let me know if these methods help. Like I said, we all do it. And even though you may feel alone, I'm sorry to break it to you, harsh truth time, you're not that special. All of us are overthinkers. All of us overanalyze at some point in our life. Many of us do it more than we're supposed to. But let me know if these methods work. Don't forget to check out my other videos on codependency and emotional manipulation. Also, if you like what I said, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, ring that bell, make Mama Algorithm love me by giving me a huge thumbs up, and share this video with someone that needs to hear it. That's it, folks.